Hey, thanks for watching today. I have with me Lauren Trundle from Senior Benefits Simplified, and we are going to talk about Medicare today because it's that time of year. It's the annual election time starting October 15th, but the information's out now. So tell us a little bit about you and what you do, and then let's get into some of what the people who are watching should be doing related to their healthcare.
Yes. So I am in the Medicare space. I work with individuals all the time, sit down with them, walk through their personal needs, since everyone is different once you get into this Medicare space, and help them find the right plan for them
That's
through education. Yeah.
perfect. So
Yeah.
in that, this is your busy time of the year.
Uh-huh.
Plans, we're recording this October 1st. Plan information just came out to the public today.
Mhm.
What are some things? Let me take a step back for a second and say, who are we talking about here? Let's talk about who should be paying attention to this video.
Yes. So the annual election period pertains to anyone that is on Medicare and is on a prescription drug plan or a Medicare Advantage plan. This is their opportunity to make a plan change within the year so that they're ready to go and all set for January 1st. If you are new to Medicare, your initial election period is any time that you are enrolling into Medicare. But right now, this is individuals that are on Medicare and are needing to review their plans to make sure that they're the best fit for them beginning in January.
Okay. So we talked about this a little bit before we started recording. A lot of people, especially who are newer to Medicare, are used to their employer really picks the plan, or maybe you have a couple of choices as an employee, but not much, right? It's sort of all decided for you. This is a little different when you're on Medicare.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily make the most sense, I gather, to just pick a plan when you turn 65 and stick with that plan forever.
Yes. So throughout your entire working life, you reviewed your benefits every year. At that moment, you either decided to stay with your current election or you maybe flipped to the other side of the spectrum, as well as you notice different insurance companies coming in and now being your insurance carrier. And what your employer did on the back end was sat down and decided which plan to go with, which company to work with, and narrowed it down to you with 2 to 3 plan options. Now, individuals on Medicare are faced with 78 to 100 different plans in their zip code with very similar benefits. But what differentiates these plans is the provider networks, the prescription drugs, how these plans are set up, the extra benefits that could be embedded in them. So it's very important that individuals that are on Medicare are taking control of their healthcare and looking at these plans.
Is this something that everyone on Medicare should do? Should they review their plan annually, or should they just kind of go with the flow?
Yes. Unfortunately, your employer is not tapping you on the shoulder anymore, but everyone that's on Medicare should receive your Medicare and You guide for 2025. You should have it already in your mailbox or on your kitchen table. Now, again, that is a large book and very confusing for individuals to understand, but that should be your trigger. That should say, oh, I need to get ready. I need to start taking a look at my plan and making sure that it's the best fit for me for next year.
And so one of the things that they can do when they get that big book in the mail and they look at all these different plans and all the different options is they can call you and say, help.
Yeah.
Help me. And so what do you do? Like, what kind of questions do you ask a person in that situation? What things do you look at to help them pick the best plan?
Yeah. So big questions are always, is the current plan you're on meeting your needs? And what are your needs? Everyone's different. Some people are on certain medications that maybe they need covered. Certain individuals may have a new provider that they're seeing that maybe wasn't part of their network or isn't being billed correctly. Some individuals travel. They are snowbirds spending half the year somewhere else, or they have family that lives elsewhere that they're traveling to see. Some people are very concerned with the over-the-counter benefits or certain benefits built in, like you hear about the grocery cards or the extra incentives that people build into plans. But at the end of the day, this is a medical plan. So, we look at what your needs are, who your doctors are, what we can foresee for the future for you. And we make sure that the plan you select to begin in January is the perfect fit as close as we can get, right? Again, it's health insurance, but is
Sure.
a good fit for you moving into the next year.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And these things change, right? So somebody could have health issues that have come up in this past year that they anticipate to be ongoing,
Yeah,
and the plan they picked last year may not make sense anymore.
correct.
Might need a change.
Correct. I always compare it to when you're, family planning, right? You may not want to be on that high deductible health plan anymore because you're family planning and you know that you're going to spend some money the next year.
Yeah.
That's kind of what you're looking at with these plans and the maximum out of pockets that you're seeing on the Medicare Advantage space. You want to make sure that that number is comfortable for you.
Are there any, Lauren, like big changes this year that are sort of not really plan dependent, but just sort of changes in the whole landscape of Medicare?
Yes. So, as I hope most of you that are watching have already realized, you got your annual notice of change in the mail. You should have received it by today. And this is letting you know what's changing in the plan from the current plan this year. And if you stay on that plan, what it's going to look like next year. But because of the Inflation Reduction Act, which hopefully you've heard of, was passed back in 2022, it's really come to fruition this year with the cap on your drugs, which means you are no longer going to have the donut hole. You're no longer going to have the catastrophic phase where you're responsible for anything. It's more so a deductible, an initial coverage, and then once you hit catastrophic, you're done. And the maximum out of pocket is $2,000. So for individuals that are on expensive medications like Jardiance or Eliquis, the list is lengthy. Their spending's capped. So this is applicable to all plans, both individual drug plans and Medicare Advantage plans. So that's a huge change. The other piece that you now have in this space is the Medicare prescription payment plan, which allows individuals to enroll through the insurance company they're working with to basically level out their payments for their prescription drugs if they are one of those individuals that are going to hit that $2,000 out of pocket cost. The other pieces that you're going to see are if you do not enroll in those plans, that Medicare prescription payment plan, when you go fill your expensive medications in January at the pharmacies are now required to provide notices to individuals and say, hey, by the way, you're on an expensive medication. Have you looked into the Medicare prescription payment plan with your insurance company? All right. So you have that piece. And then you have this new process where there's no longer a self-attestation to certain benefits on plans. So before this year, if you wanted to enroll in have the grocery card on your plan, or you had certain OTC benefits that were outside of the normal OTC piece, you could say, I have a chronic condition. I have allergies. I have asthma. I have diabetes. Now it's the provider's responsibility. So all of these insurance companies are going to start reaching out to your providers and asking them to attest that you have these conditions so that certain benefits can remain on the plan for you. It's going to be a headache for providers. You now have the pharmacy involved. It's not just individuals on Medicare. It's everyone in the space is now having, big brother eyes on everything. So that's big changes.
Yeah. It sounds like a lot of big changes.
Uh-huh.
And we did a video earlier this year. We took a little bit of a dive into the prescription side, so people can check that out if they want a little bit more information on that.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that strikes me is there's a lot of choice here, and that booklet can be overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got some deadlines too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we talked a little bit about October 15th is when you can start making elections. When does that window close?
December 7th.
Okay, so we have from October 15th to December 7th to make these elections.
Mm-hmm.
What happens if someone doesn't make an election?
Mm-hmm. Usually you're stuck on your plan through January. There may be a special election period that could come up for you based on certain qualifying events in your life. But for the most part, you're then on that plan through January.
That would be through January 2026.
Sorry, yes,
right?
through December 31st of the following year, yes.
Mm-hmm. And so, like many other things in life, it's good to be proactive about this.
Mm-hmm.
Sit down with you, go over what the changes are, how they, and try to identify the best plan as much as we can get our crystal ball out, right? And then anticipate what our needs are going to be.
Right.
And then to get that done before December 7th.
Correct.
because that's when that change has to be in place or we're locked into what we currently have.
Correct.
What other important things should people know about this annual election period and the changes?
Yes. So, like we just alluded to in the beginning of this, it's your responsibility to take control of your healthcare. So, when you get that annual notice of change, you want to be looking at how your plan looks this year and how it's changing next year. Also, with the Inflation Reduction Act and a $2,000 cap on prescription drugs, you want to be looking at the formularies on your plan, right? So you want to make sure that the medications you're taking now are still part of the plan's formulary, because we can see that the formularies have changed and they change every year. That's why it's so great to look at your plan every single year, because certain medications that may have been covered may not be, or certain tiers of medications may adjust. The other piece that you might start seeing is a deductible that's now on certain plans that you didn't have before. Because with a $2,000 spending cap, insurance companies have to recoup some of that loss. So you want to start paying attention to that when you get that annual notice of change. The other piece is for those that are on Medicaid. This is a big change for them. Individuals that are on Medicaid are used to having options throughout the year to change their plan. But as we're going to see progress, Kentucky, Ohio, other states are becoming fully integrated states, meaning the Medicaid carrier that you're on will have to match the health insurance on Medicare side that you're on, if you're trying to make changes throughout the year. It's very confusing, but it's something that individuals that are on Medicaid also need to be aware of, that this jumping from plan to plan throughout the year is not going to be as easy as it was before. So as a Medicare beneficiary, you do need to be responsible, and you need to look at the plans this year. Check for yourself, call your providers, work with a local agent. That's what we're here for, all those things.
So lots of good information there.
Yes.
Lots of good information.
We could talk for hours.
The bottom line
Yeah.
is just sit down and review this stuff.
Yes.
Because the positive outcomes from how long would you say your average appointment is with someone to go through this, or how much time do you think you spend
Yes.
sort of going through these decisions?
It can vary. Some people are very decisive, so it's a 15 to 20 minute conversation.
Yeah.
Others, an hour talking through it and working through the decision-making process. But then, when you work with someone, you're not calling a call center when you have questions.
Right.
You're calling an agent that's local that you can ask to make sure that everything you did is what you wanted to do. And again, you make a decision on October 15th, and then you say, oh, no, I don't want to do that. You have until December 7th to finalize that change. So, yeah.
So a small time investment
can
save someone a lot of money or headache or whatever in the new year with their Medicare plan.
Correct.
What's the best way for them to get a hold of you? Hopefully we've motivated some people to think, okay, I should look at this plan this year. Even if and I guess what I should add real quick is, it doesn't matter if you've kind of let it ride the last couple of years, right? Mm-hmm. It's an annual election period. So just because you've never made a change before doesn't mean that you can't make a change now, right?
Yes.
So if someone wants to work with you to take a look at their plan, what should they do?
Call our office at 859-446-6360.
And they'll set up an appointment with you,
mm-hmm.
go over this.
Yeah.
They should probably have their list of providers, their prescription drugs that they're on, anything else that's important for them to bring with.
Their Medicare card, obviously, their current plan. And, they know their preferences. They know what's important to them. So identifying that, write your dream list down of what your health plan offers, and we try and get as close as we can to that.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
And what do those meetings cost the people that come in?
They do not cost anything.
That's pretty rare.
Yeah.
It's pretty rare to have something that you can spend
not like
15 minutes. That's exactly right. It's pretty rare to have something where you can spend 15 minutes to an hour or so at no cost to you and get that kind of advice that can save you a lot.
And then you have a personal advocate for you and your health plan.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
So.
Well, thanks, Lauren. Appreciate you coming in and telling everybody about this. I think it's really important that this message gets out every year, but especially this year, because there are so many changes that are happening as well. So if you are on Medicare, call Lauren and get your plan looked at before you make your election. So between October 15th and December 7th, you got to make that pick for next year.
Yeah.
So give her a call.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.